My name's John. I'm 20 years old, and this is the story of my grandmother's strange house and the secrets of the room behind the locked door. The house was different at night. I can't quite describe it. It wasn't just quiet. It was the kind of silence that felt heavy, like the house itself was breathing. This house was passed down to me from my grandmother, my mother's mother, after she died. She wasn't the kind of grandma who gave you cookies and told you bedtime stories. No. She was mysterious, a little harsh, and her eyes, gray, with something hidden behind them. I always felt there was a story there, but she never told it. My whole childhood in that house was full of rules. Don't go down to the basement at night, John. The room at the end of the upstairs hallway is locked. Don't open it. These keys aren't toys. Leave them where they are. Then one day, she died, alone in that big house. Now that I was 20, I became the sole owner. I decided to move in for a while, clean it up, sell it, take the money, and buy an apartment in the city. But the house and my grandmother's spirit had other plans. The first day I walked in, the air smelled of dust and decay. Sunlight came through the grimy windows, lighting up clouds of dust that danced like ghosts. I wandered through the rooms, touching old furniture, everything covered in white sheets like shrouds. Even the scent of my grandmother's perfume still lingered, lavender, mixed with something sharp, like old metal. Then I went to the kitchen and saw the wooden board where all the keys hung. Big ones, small ones, weird ones, but one key was missing. Then I remembered the key to that room at the end of the upstairs hallway. She always kept it in her pocket, never letting me touch it. I told myself, well, now the house is mine. But still, I felt uneasy. I went upstairs. The hallway was long and dark, the floorboards crying under my feet. And at the very end, the forbidden door. Oak wood, carved with roses and trees, sealed with a large, rusty lock. I tried to open it, locked, of course. Days passed as I tried to settle in. But at night, I'd hear footsteps in the hallway. Sometimes whispers right by my ear. I kept telling myself it was just loneliness. Just imagination. Then one night, while searching for tea in the kitchen cupboard, I noticed a small painting behind the shelf, an old oil landscape. Something made me move it. Behind it was a small rosewood box. Inside, among old papers and photos, was a key. Not the missing one from the board. No. A small, elegant silver key, engraved with a crescent moon surrounded by stars. Beautiful. Strange. I didn't know what it opened, but I felt it was important. I slipped it into my pocket. The next day, I decided to clean the garage out back to delay facing the secret room upstairs. The place was a mess of old tools, carpets, and boxes. While walking around, my foot hit something hard under a rolled-up rug. I lifted it, and there it was, a hidden door in the floor. My heart started pounding. The door was wooden, covered in dust, with a simple lock. I tried the silver key, it didn't fit. Then I remembered a large rusty key hanging on the kitchen board, an odd one I never tried. I ran back, grabbed it, came down, and tried it. Click. It turned. The door creaked open, revealing a staircase going down. But it wasn't a normal basement. It was narrow, deeper than it should be. The smell of damp earth and metal filled the air. I went down. A single old bulb flickered weakly above. At the bottom, I froze. It wasn't a basement. It was a hidden chamber. The walls were covered in strange drawings, circles, symbols, constellations. Shelves lined with ancient books, glass orbs, bones, and black mirrors. In the corner, a small stone altar covered with melted wax and yellowed papers. My heart stopped. What had my grandmother been doing down here? I searched the shelves. The books were about magic, astronomy, tarot, and the history of old families in the region. Among them, I found a leather-bound journal, her handwriting. The first line said, "If you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've inherited the house. I'm sorry. I knew you'd find the room. Please read everything before you do anything." I kept reading. She wrote that she wasn't an evil witch, she was a guardian. Our family, for generations, had been tasked with sealing away dark things, spirits, cursed objects, entities protecting people from them. This hidden chamber was a vault holding those cursed relics. The altar was used to weaken and contain them. But there was one thing worse than all the others, a thing called the Wandering Shadow, an ancient entity imprisoned a century ago by our ancestors. But the binding was weakening, and the house itself was its prison. The last line read, "If the whispers grow stronger, if the house begins to change its waking, be careful, John. Our blood protects us, but also calls to it." I climbed out of the basement, trembling. The whole house seemed different now. The whispers were louder, calling my name. "Joan!" Doors slammed by themselves. Sometimes I'd see a long, impossible shadow at the edge of my sight, gone when I turned. After a week, I decided there was no use running. I was the last guardian. I began reading the journal every day, learning the symbols, the incantations. Once I tried a simple ritual, and the whispers stopped for a whole day. I felt a strange power, but the shadow was stronger. One night, I woke up to something standing on my chest, hot breath against my ear. I opened my eyes, nothing. Then I saw my closet overturned, and on the dusty mirror, written by a finger, "You're next." I knew time was running out. I went to the hidden chamber, grabbed a lavender candle, a box of salt, and a small iron disc engraved with protection runes. I planned to use my bloodline's power, turn it against the shadow. That night, I drew a salt circle in the middle of the living room, lit the lavender candle my grandmother's scent filled the air, and I began chanting from the journal old strange words. The house shook. Doors slammed, lights flickered. Then it came. The shadow rose from the walls, tall, black, eyes burning like fire. "Your blood is mine! At last!" I shouted. "No, my blood protects, it doesn't serve." I threw the iron disc into the air. It glowed and spun, burning through the darkness. The shadow screamed a sound that wasn't human. It pushed back, trying to swallow me, but I felt warmth rising from inside from my blood, my lineage, and I pushed back harder. Then silence. The shadow was gone. The trembling stopped. The candle flickered out. I collapsed and slept for a whole day. When I woke, the house was quiet again. Peaceful quiet, not the heavy kind. I knew it was over. I didn't sell the house. It's my duty now. I'm the new guardian. Months later, I found the real missing key hidden behind a panel in the kitchen. I opened the locked room upstairs, and it was ordinary. Just her personal things, family photos. She'd fooled everyone. The real forbidden room was the one underground. Now, I live here, studying her journals, keeping watch. Sometimes I still hear a faint whisper or catch a glimpse of movement in the dark. But I know how to keep it under control. That was my grandmother's secret, and that is my destiny. Thank you for listening to my story. And if you ever suspect there's a hidden room in your house, sometimes ignorance is bliss.